All right, we want to get back to one of our big stories right now. As a ceasefire in Aleppo breaks, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest responding just moments ago. Listen.
These tactics are depraved. They do cross just about every line that I can think of. And frankly, they cross lines I hadn't previously thought of. The idea that you would target a playground and bomb kids, hoping that you would then convince people to give up because you'd killed their kids? What kind of a sick mind comes up with a strategy like that?
Joining me now is Ben Collins, a former U.S. Army Green Beret officer who served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan. What is your reaction to what's going on right now, sir?
Melissa, to hear Josh, even mention the word, line is to me a little bit laughable. I mean, look, they've been killing children. I mean, estimates right now are somewhere up to 50 or 75,000 of the 500,000 civilians that have been killed are children. They crossed a red line using, chemical weapons, 2 years ago that Obama failed to back up. So, this outrage right now that I'm hearing from the administration is just it doesn't really strike me as honest.
Yeah.
It's just an absolute depravity what we're seeing right now.
And there are critics out there that say the same thing about the outrage that the administration expresses against Russia. For example, in the New York Times, citing sources saying Mr. Obama was briefed regularly on all of this, talking about Russian hacking there, but he made a decision that many in the White House now regret. He did not name Russians publicly or issue sanctions there was always a reason. Fear of escalating a cyber war and concern that the United States needed Russia's cooperation in negotiations over Syria. So they're saying that one of the reasons that this whole situation has gotten so far out of control was this idea of also trying to negotiate with Russia at the same time and maybe thinking they would be helpful in this situation where they certainly have not been, right?
No, absolutely not. And look, the reality is our foreign policy has been essentially driven by the by the Green movement. I mean, look, we've seen this before. Susan Rice, said at the end of the after the '94 genocide in Rwanda that well, we're afraid to act because they didn't want to mess up the election. Now here, President Obama didn't want to publicly take a hit out on the Russians for cyber because of this negotiation. Look, the reality is it comes down to different levers. Right now, I'm not advocating for, American troops on the ground. Absolutely not. But we have levers of influence that we could have utilized. For instance, look, Russia has essentially held Europe captive, hostage with their natural gas. What Obama should have done is it doesn't have to be military. He could have leaned into Putin's ear and said, look, I'm going to tell my own natural gas suppliers to crank up. I'm going to flood the market and I'm going to tank your market. There are levers that we could have utilized, but Obama has always been scared. All we do after everything is we issue these statements of concern. We admonish. Yeah. Josh Earnest talks about how horrible it is, and nothing changes. And yet civilians, 500,000 have died. It's horrible.
I mean, it's just one of the many enormous problems that the Trump administration will now inherit. Ben Collins, thank you so much for joining us.